The most daring jailbreak, a man poisons the guards and walks out of the prison's front gates and disappears. This leads to one of the largest manhunts in Indian police history. One of the people who is part of this manhunt is Inspector Madhukar Jhende, an officer of the Bombay Police. Inspector Jhende places himself in Goa with his team on the information that the man was wandering the streets of India's party state, Goa, freely. Over time, Jhende identifies certain spots where the man could potentially visit and places his team in those spots. Jhende himself starts spending his evenings in a restaurant called Okokirio, which used to be frequented by hippies and foreign tourists alike. His hunch that the man would return to his old ways of scoping women, hippies, etc. pays off. One evening, a bearded man makes his way to the restaurant and occupies a table by himself. Jhende, who has been a frequent visitor to Okokirio, immediately identifies the new entrant as the man whom they are searching for. By his own account, Jhende walks up to him and coolly asks, "Hello, Charles. How are you?" The man, for his part, makes no attempt to escape, and Jhende arrests him using a rope that he borrows from the restaurant itself. Jhende and his team drive for 11 hours non-stop back to Mumbai, which was called Bombay back then. The serial killer was arrested and sent back to prison. Charles Shobhraj, the serial killer. Shobhraj was born in Saigon to an Indian father and Vietnamese mother. His parents were divorced. Shobhraj was adopted by his mother's new boyfriend, a French army lieutenant stationed in French Indochina. There he was neglected in favor of the couple's later children. As a teenager, he began to commit petty crimes. He received his first jail sentence for burglary in 1963, near Paris. While imprisoned, Shobhraj eagerly manipulated prison officials into granting him special favors, such as being allowed to keep books in his cell. Around the same time, he met Felix Diaz-Cann, a wealthy young man and prison volunteer. After being paroled, Shobhraj moved in with Diaz-Cann and spent his time moving between the high society of Paris and the criminal underworld. He began accumulating riches through a series of burglaries and scams. During this time, Shobhraj met and began a romantic relationship with Chantal Kampanin, a young Parisian woman from a conservative family. Shobhraj proposed marriage to Kampanin, but was arrested later the same day for attempting to evade police while driving a stolen vehicle. He was sentenced to 8 months in prison, yet Chantal remained supportive throughout the entirety of his sentence. Shobhraj and Kampanin wed upon his release. Shobhraj, along with a pregnant Kampanin, left France in 1970 for Asia to escape arrest. After traveling through Eastern Europe with fake documents, robbing tourists whom they befriended along the way, Shobhraj arrived in Mumbai later the same year. Here, Chantal gave birth to a baby girl, Usha. In the meantime, Shobhraj resumed his criminal lifestyle, running a car theft and smuggling operation. Shobhraj's growing profits went towards his budding gambling addiction. In 1973, Shobhraj was arrested and imprisoned after an unsuccessful armed robbery attempt on a jewelry store at Hotel Ashoka. Shobhraj was able to escape, with Kampanin's help, by faking illness, but was recaptured shortly thereafter. Shobhraj borrowed money for bail from his father, and soon afterwards fled to Kabul. There, the couple began to rob tourists on the hippie trail, to be arrested again. Shobhraj escaped in the same way he had in India, feigning illness and drugging the hospital guard. Shobhraj fled to Iran, leaving his family behind. Kampanin, although still loyal to Shobhraj, wished to leave their criminal past behind and return to France, vowing never to see him again. Shobhraj spent the next 2 years on the run, using as many as 10 stolen passports. He passed through various countries in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. Shobraj was joined by his younger half-brother, Andrei, in Istanbul. Shobraj and Andrei became partners in crime, participating in various criminal activities in both Turkey and Greece. The duo was eventually arrested in Athens. After an identity switch hoax went awry, Shobraj managed to escape, but his half-brother was left behind. Andrei was turned over to the Turkish police by Greek authorities and served an 18-year sentence. On the run, Shobraj financed his lifestyle by posing as either a gem salesman or drug dealer to impress and befriend tourists, whom he defrauded. In India, Shobraj met Marie-Andrée Leclerc from Lévis, Quebec, a tourist looking for adventure. Dominated by Shobraj, she became his most devoted follower, turning a blind eye to his crimes and his philandering with local women. Shobraj gathered followers by gaining their loyalty. A typical scam was to help his target out of difficult situations. In one case, he helped two former French policemen, Yannick and Jacques, recover missing passports that Shobraj himself had actually stolen. In another scheme, Shobraj provided shelter to a Frenchman, Dominique Renello, who appeared to be suffering from dysentery. Shobraj had actually poisoned him. He was joined by a young Indian man, Ajay Chaudhuri, a fellow criminal who became Shobraj's second in command. Shobraj and Chaudhuri committed their first known murders in 1975. Most of the victims had spent some time with the pair before their deaths and were, according to investigators, recruited by Shobraj and Chaudhuri to join them in their crimes. Shobraj claimed that most of his murders were really accidental drug overdoses, but investigators state that the victims had threatened to expose Shobraj, which was his motive for murder. The first victim was a young woman from Seattle, Teresa Knowlton, who was found drowned in a tidal pool in the Gulf of Thailand, wearing a flowered bikini. It was months later that Knowlton's autopsy, as well as forensic evidence, proved that her drowning, originally believed to be a swimming accident, was murder. Shobraj was visited by his previous victim Hakim's French girlfriend, Charmaine Carew, who had come to investigate her boyfriend's disappearance. Fearing exposure, Shobraj and Chaudhuri quickly hustled Bintanja and Hemkar out. Their bodies were found strangled and burned on 16 December 1975. Soon after, Carew was found drowned and wearing a similar styled swimsuit to that of Shobraj's earlier victim, Teresa Knowlton. Although the murders of both women were not connected by investigators at the time, they would later earn Shobraj the nickname the Bikini Killer. Meanwhile, Dutch diplomat Herman Nippenberg and his then-wife Angela Kane were investigating the murders of Bintanja and Hemkar. With the help of Shobraj's neighbors, a case was built against him. He was eventually given police permission to search Shobraj's apartment, a full month after the suspect had left the country. Nippenberg found evidence, including victims' documents and passports, as well as poisons and syringes. Back in Asia, Shobraj started forming a new criminal group, starting with two Western women, Barbara Smith and Mary Ellen Either, in Bombay. In July 1976 in New Delhi, Shobraj, joined by his three-woman criminal clan, tricked a tour group of French postgraduate students into accepting them as tour guides. Shobraj drugged them by giving them poison pills, which he told them were anti-dysentery medicine. When the drugs took effect more quickly than Shobraj had anticipated, the students began to fall unconscious. Three of the students, realizing what Shobraj had done, overpowered him and contacted the police, leading to his capture. During interrogation, Shobraj's accomplices, Smith and Either, buckled and confessed. Shobraj was charged with the murder of Salomon, and all four were sent to Tihar jail in New Delhi. Shobhraj, who had entered with precious gems concealed in his body and was experienced in bribing captors, was living comfortably in jail. He turned his trial into a spectacle, hiring and firing lawyers at will, bringing in his recently paroled brother Andre to assist, and eventually going on a hunger strike. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Shobhraj's systematic bribery of prison guards at Tihar reached outrageous levels. He led a life of luxury inside the jail, with television and gourmet food, having befriended both guards and prisoners. He gave interviews to Western authors and journalists. Neville was accompanied by his future wife, Julie Clark, who has frequently written about the subject. Clark has said that Shobhraj sold the rights to his life story to a Bangkok businessman, who sold them onto Random House. Shobhraj's prison sentence was due to end before the 20-year Thai statute of limitations expired, ensuring his extradition and almost certain execution for murder in Thailand. So in March 1986, in his 10th year in prison, Shobhraj threw a big party for his guards and fellow inmates, drugged them with sleeping pills, and walked out of the jail. Inspector Madhukar Jhende of the Mumbai police apprehended Shobhraj in a Kokiro restaurant in Goa. His prison term was extended by 10 years, just as he had hoped. Shobhraj retired to a comfortable life in suburban Paris. He hired a publicity agent and charged large sums of money for interviews and photographs. He is said to have charged over $15 million for the rights to a movie based on his life. In 2003, Shobhraj returned to Nepal, one of the few countries where he could still be arrested and where he was still eagerly sought by authorities. According to the Himalayan Times, Shobhraj had returned to Kathmandu to set up a mineral water business. His return is thought to be the result of his yearning for attention and overconfidence in his own intellect. On 1st September 2003, Shobhraj was spotted by a journalist for the Himalayan Times in a casino in Kathmandu. The journalist followed him for 2 weeks and wrote a news report in the Himalayan Times with photographs. The Nepal's police saw the report, raided the casino, and arrested an unaware Shobhraj, who was still gambling there. The police reopened the double murder case from 1975 and got Shobhraj sentenced to life imprisonment by the Kathmandu District Court on 20 August 2004 for the murders of Bronzik and Carrier. On 18 September 2014, Shobhraj was convicted in the Bhaktapur District Court of the murder of Canadian tourist Laurent Carrier. In 2018, Shobhraj was in critical condition and had been operated on multiple times. He had received several open-heart surgeries and was scheduled for more. As of April 2021, he still remains in a Nepal's jail, aged 77, and in poor health.